answer a question about data and mail piece, if I had to pick one, I would say data is definitely more important than mail piece, because think about it. If you have a data of, if you pull a list of people that all bought their properties, sorry, before I get, hey, Steve, if you were not on the call, in the like first 15-20 minutes, Brian shared some really good tips on some marketing channels. If you're local in the area, definitely look into that. I think that's some really inexpensive, but could be super effective marketing channel. So go back to like the first 15-20 minutes of the call. That's we're going to be trying in our business, but something to look into. Very, very inexpensive, but can be very effective. Okay.
Yeah, the yellow, the notes in the envelope.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep,
Yeah.
I heard that. Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful.
So I
Thank
think
you.
that's a great tip. Yeah. So I'll definitely look into that. So yeah, Adam. So I have Ballpoint Marketing doing my marketing. But if I have to, your data has to be on point with direct mail, because if you go after the list of people that, let's say, all bought their properties in last 6 months, then you can have the best handwritten note, you can have the best letter, best stationery, but there's no way they're going to sell their property, right? I bought my property in 6 months ago. I mean, unless you're willing to pay me ridiculous amount of money, I'm not going to sell my property, because as an investor, the numbers would not make sense. So you want to start with the right data, right list of in homeowners to go after, sellers to go after. If you're not sure, then the absentee list generally tends to perform better. And if you have too many people on the absentee, stack that with vacant. So absentee, vacant would be good. But I would say test out, like maybe pick a small list of absentee and then pick a small list of absentee stacked with vacant and see how it performs. And then just look at your numbers. I cannot stress enough. It's really, really critical that you're tracking your numbers. The point is, I've said this in other calls, your goal should not be, one of your goals should be that you want to increase your top revenue number. If you're doing, let's say, 5, 6, 700, then your goal should be, okay, how do I get to $1 million in revenue? How do I increase 50 to 100% to my revenue? However, you don't want to increase that revenue at the expense of net income. It's super important to keep track of your net income also. I would much rather have $700,000 to $800,000 revenue business, but make $400,000 to $450,000 net profit, versus $1 million worth of business and I'm only making $200,000 to $250,000 because I have a very inefficient business. And that's where, for most investors, as you scale your business, marketing would be the biggest expense that you have in your business. Maybe your marketing or payroll, but generally tends to be marketing. If you can be more effective with your marketing, at a minimum, you want to look at, for every dollar that you're putting in, you want to look at absolutely bare minimum 3x. So if you're spending, so going back to like Steve had an example of, if he's putting 3,000 per month, at a minimum, I would say I expect to make 10,000, like 9 to 10,000 on that. But ideally, you want to be 5x and above. And the only way to do that is you start tracking your number. If you're doing direct mail, you're doing direct mail to absentee list and probate list. Don't combine the list. Use 2 separate tracking number and see if it's the absentee list or probate list that's actually performing well for you, right? And that's where you start getting more and more effective with your marketing. Then you just double down on the marketing that's working and start cutting out the one that is not working. The only way to do that is really track your marketing better than anybody else. The better you can track your marketing, the more money you'll make in this business in the long term. So Adam, I would say start out with the right list. Yeah, so I'm using Ballpoint Marketing. They're going after expired listing. I forgot all the lists that they're going after. But, for me, it came out to, I think about, I gave them a set budget. I think it's about $8,000 to $10,000 over 6 months is what I'm spending, if I'm not mistaken. Or I'll have to go back. They send me the invoice. My mail just dropped last
And then how many pieces of mail is that sending out for you if you're spending 10K over 6? Because my number was like 18K over 6 months. And they were suggesting...
I'm in a very small area. Like I'm literally in like 4 or 5 cities in a very small county that I'm at. So my goal is to do, like about a couple of dozen deals a year, but really high margin deals, like where I'm making minimum $40,000 to $50,000 a deal. So that's kind of what I go after. So it's not quantity for me, it's like quality. If you send me a message, Adam, then I can like look through the invoice and give you the exact numbers of how many mail pieces and what's my cost per mail drop that they're doing.
Thanks.
Sure. All right. AMW. I was spending about 70 to 20,000 a month with home investors. We buy ugly houses. Buying one house a month on average, that's $1,500 a lead cost. I'm now on my own spending 5 to 10. Yeah. So that's kind of what I've heard from home investors or these franchises. Then it can get super expensive because again, the inefficiencies creep in, and then you don't have control on how you're doing your business. But independently, I would say that's pretty on par with about spending 5 to 7,000. Depending on the market, it may go up to 10,000, and then you're getting about 3 to 4 houses. So I would say about $2,000 to $4,000 per deal is kind of a good ballpark number to keep in mind. Again, if you're in San Diego, New York, or expensive market, that number is going to be high, but your ROI is going to be high also. So keep that in mind. Not so much on cost per deal or cost per lead, it's the ROI. If I'm living in San Diego doing deals, I'm not going to get a deal for $2,000 a month or $2,000 per deal. I might spend 8 to 10,000, but I'm making a lot more money also. So at the end of the day, the most important number you want to keep in mind is ROI. For every dollar that you put in marketing, how much money is coming back into the business? So for every marketing channel, I mentioned absolutely bare minimum, it should be 3. Anything less than 3, you should definitely cut it out. Ideally, you want to see 5 or above. So Steve, going back to you, for spending $3,000 minimum, you want to see $10,000, but ideally you want to see $15,000 or more that you're making from the marketing. It should be higher, but at a minimum, I would say, like if you're making less than 15, then I would start looking at where some inefficiencies creeping in. There's some marketing that you're doing in your business that you don't really need to be doing. And then I will start tracking my numbers a little bit more in depth and start analyzing and see where is some inefficiencies in your marketing.